Today marks the beginning of a busier than usual week for me. I'm just getting ready to go into town because I have a market research survey to do. Normally they would be online or more local, but this one I have to drive into town. It's worth it. It's £50 and it's a really nice day today outside, so it'll get me out and about. I'll get my step counter up. It's going to be particularly busy next week. Today's Friday. I think Monday is a bank holiday. Tuesday I have to take my car in to get 2 tyres changed. And the day after that, unfortunately, I have a funeral to go to. Next day I'm just getting organised because the day after that I am heading down to my family for several weeks. They're off on holiday and I am house sitting, and it's not really it's not a holiday for me, it's a change of scenery, but they'll be around for a bit and then they'll be off, so I get to enjoy, you know, a nicer place to live for a bit, a lovely garden. Hopefully the weather will be nice. It comes with all sorts of complications, of course, because I run my own business, so I have to decide what work I'm going to take with me, what bits of my online shop I'm going to keep open. And the other problem is, and what always seems to happen when I go down at this time of year, is we seem to end up with a heat wave. So I've got to decide how I'm going to minimise plant death while I'm away. I can't take all my plants with me. I can't move all of them indoors and stand them in buckets of water. So I need to decide what I'm going to do. I think a few things I shall take with me because I have some seedlings which I planted far too late, which are still indoors, so they'll probably come with me. Some things I might bring indoors and put into my bath and put some water in the bath. It's quite a light flat, so nothing's going to die from lack of light, and we've had what I would consider a heat wave for almost a week now, and it's showing no signs of going. It looks like it's going to be here at least until I go away, and I'm just watching as the days tick on. So I need to decide. It always happens, and it's annoying because I get very, very similar weather here to when I'm back home, even though there's quite a distance between us. So I want it to be nice and warm and sunny and hot for when I'm down there because I get to enjoy the garden. But then that probably means that it's going to be hot and sunny here as well, which could be problematic. So I'm just going to keep an eye on the weather and see what happens. But I'm heading off into town now to do my market research survey, and then that'll be me done for the week, and then I can get started on how I'm going to pack, and I shall do some other details, some little videos all about that and put that here because it's quite complicated. It's not a case of simply packing a small suitcase and taking some toiletries and you're away for a few weeks. There's so much more involved. Anyway, so let's get this out the way first. Well, I've just got back to the car after my market research survey in town. Didn't quite go to plan. This one was to volunteer to test a healthcare test that they're doing. And you go in there, they do your height, your weight. It's like an MOT. But they couldn't get any blood out of me, so they did my height, my weight, they did the cholesterol, a bit of blood pressure, and they try and take the blood out your arms. And she tried both arms and gave up. All my veins seem to have shrunk back into my arms. Now, last year I started volunteering for a medical research company which does tests using various people for all sorts of things. And you go for screenings if you're eligible within a boundary for the test. got my indicator on, mate. What are you doing? And then, sorry, there was some idiot parking up behind me when I'd indicated to pull over. Anyway, so I'd volunteers for these studies and they sent me through for several. I didn't pass any of the screenings because they're very strict on parameters when they're using healthy people. Everyone has to be exactly the same. So I failed on those. But you still get paid to go along and do it. So I made a little bit of money out of it. But one of the things I noticed is that they really struggled to take blood out of my arms. Really struggled. And they've not called me back at all this year, and I think that they just don't want me because I'm just impossible. So I did this one today, and it's exactly the same problem. And I think that I'm just going to have to give up on that as an opportunity. The medical research would have been a financial lifesaver for me. Some of the studies that you do are, sometimes they involve a stay in the unit, so you might do 4 or 5 days where you stay there and they do your bloods every day and they recheck and all this sort of thing. But I've seen studies paying up to $6,000 a year, and even the studies that you're only in there for a couple of days will pay you a couple of £1,000s. So that was one of my side hustle ideas for just filling the gap in my finances. But I'm going to have to knock that one on the head, which is a shame, because it was really interesting as well. I learned all sorts of things about how they do, like COVID treatments, all sorts of things that we could have been used for. And lots of people volunteer for studies. This is how people make extra money. It's really popular. So I'm going to have to knock that one on the head and go back to the drawing board. I've been looking for part-time jobs. I think I'm going to have to go back to work. I don't know what to do. I trained in office administration. I was a PA, but I worked in offices for 17 years and it's just a nightmare. Toxic office environments, long commutes, long hours stuck in front of computer screens. I hated it, and the pay wasn't even that amazing. When I was doing it, I was always doing it through agencies as a temp, because it was really hard to get proper jobs. So there was no holiday pay, no sick pay, no pensions. So I came out of it with nothing after all those years, and was really glad when I got to knock it on the head. And if I do it now, it's going to impact heavily on my lifestyle. And I don't mean just that I've got used to not doing an honest day's job work because I'm self-employed. I mean things like getting to see family because I live so far away. You know, if I go back to work full-time, I'm only going to have X number of weeks paid time off, which is going to cut my family time probably down by half. And theoretically, I'm still going to be trying to run my own business. So I've been looking for part-time jobs, and I've joined loads of online recruitment agencies, and I was hoping just, you know, I'll copy type, data entry, all that sort of thing from home, something that isn't customer facing, because without being rude, I hate people. I don't want to be a receptionist. I've done that as well, and that's a naff job. I've tried retail. I was put off that very quickly by that hideously toxic environment. It's just unbelievable that in all the years that I was working in offices and working with other people, people's mentalities just has not changed. So I'm looking at all these part-time jobs, and there's loads of jobs for data entry and focus groups and all that sort of thing. But when you dive into them and you look into them, they're all advertising to take surveys. that advertising, the thing that I already do to make extra money, which is doing surveys online and doing market research, they're advertising as a part-time job. Now, I don't have enormous spending power, so I don't get an awful lot of surveys. But if you did have that kind of spending power, you'd need to be taking a lot of surveys to make your money back. And I think my survey income is going to be up this year on last year, but I'm still only making £143 a month on average for full-time hours, because you spend a lot of time trying to take surveys and not passing surveys and applying for market research. So that is not part-time work. It's well below minimum wage for full-time hours. It's like the gig economy. It's like being a Deliveroo or Uber Eats driver. You know, you make almost nothing. So that's really frustrating. And I read something the other day that apparently you're not supposed to take more than one market research project within a 6-month period. So that means you can only do 2 a year. And that's across market survey companies. I didn't know this. I've already done like 6 this year. And I don't know how they know. I don't know whether you're on a database somewhere and they list you all. I mean, as I say, I've done 6 and no one's called me out on it, so I'm going to presume they don't check up and they rely on your honesty. But if that's the case, then I can't get any more market research this year, and that's income gone. So that's why I'm looking at actual jobs. The only other part-time jobs I've seen on these recruitment sites are nursing and social care and cleaning. And they're not even part-time. My next door neighbour's a cleaner. He says he's an actor and he plays in a band, but what he is he's a cleaner. And he gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning and he gets back at 1:30 in the afternoon. And that's 5 days a week. And that, I would imagine, is probably classed as a full-time job, because he's starting ridiculously early and then ending at a reasonable, comparable hour. But again, that kind of job, even doing that, is going to be really detrimental to everything else I do. It's going to be detrimental to my business, for what it's worth, for all the other ways that I still try to make money, and for having time with family. That's the biggest problem for me. It's not like I can go home just for the weekend. It's over 500 miles round trip. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of petrol, and you can't be doing that in a weekend. In fact, you wouldn't even get a weekend, because you'd have to be driving Saturday morning or Friday night and then be gone again by Sunday afternoon. So you wouldn't get any time. But getting work has really changed. I think I don't even know if it's competitive, because apparently nobody wants to work anymore. You know, there was this great shutdown of people giving up their jobs. I don't know how they're making their money, because they ain't doing it the same way that I'm doing it. But there don't seem to be any actual jobs out there. And I keep hearing about big company layoffs now, where they're just cutting staff. So I don't really know what the job market is like. And I think even if I wanted to go back to office work, I would really struggle if I wanted a part-time job. There doesn't seem to be anything out there. So that means I'm looking at full-time work, but I haven't been in the job market for 11 years now. So I don't really know what I have to offer. And if I go back full-time, that means a lot of time lost with my now aging parents, who aren't going to be around forever. And it means me going back to running my business evening and weekends, which means a full-time job becomes a two-time full-time job. So I don't know what to do now. I keep a very close eye on my finances these days to make sure that I'm not spending on anything that I don't need. Because it just seems like a waste now. I don't know what to do. This was going to be my year of change, when I was going to kick myself up the backside and get myself more organised and a little bit more secure. But I don't see it happening. Consumer spending power is even worse. E-commerce is a nightmare. Everyone wants everything for nothing. I'm advertising stuff on eBay, and it's all very well selling for a price, but then you have to put the postage on top, and postage is so expensive now. So I've been listing all my items with postage included in the price of the item, and I'm still getting people bartering me down to half price. So there's no real money to be made in being a second-hand seller. When I was walking through town today and looking at the price of, clothes in the shops, there was a lovely, like a rockabilly shop with these lovely flowery circle dresses and stuff in the window. And they're selling these dresses for £49, which is such a joke. If you're running a shop, these are in a shop window, this person's paying business rates and probably paying staff and electricity to run that shop. There is no way she is going to be in business in a year if she's selling dresses for £49. The fabric alone will cost at least half of that. This race to the bottom has got to stop. The undercutting has to stop, because this is not how you run an economy. This is not how people make a living. And I'm not talking about big profits, I'm talking about people just being able to put a roof over their heads. We are running as fast as we can to the bottom. And it's not just consumers that are doing that, it's the businesses that are doing that. We are all living off air at the moment because nobody is making any money out of anything. Unless you're one of the big companies. Unless you're a big supermarket or a big bank. I'm going to shut up now. I'm nearly home. Well, as you can tell, I'm home. That's better. Now you can see me. As I rolled up at my front door, met my neighbour, who I don't see very often, because we're always passing like ships in the night. And we were talking about the issue with the painting of the windows, which you may have seen on one of my other mini posts. If not, go find it. It's hilarious. And I asked him about rent, because one of the things that I'm really worrying about at the moment is the rent going up. Now, my rent's not due to go up until October, but it's really playing on my mind already. And I have no doubt that it's going to go up. My neighbour renewed his in April, because we're all on different tenancy cycles. And he's paying more than me, which means that mine's going to go up. And I know that they say inflation's come down, interest rates are going up, everything's still costing money. Mortgages are still high, which means, well, my landlord's going to pass that on, isn't he? He's not going to pay for that himself. So it depends on how much it goes up by and what my options are. And my neighbour, who is also self-employed, works from home. He had to close up his business last month because things are just so difficult now. It's impossible. And he says he's been trying to find full-time work ever since. And I mentioned to him that, like, yeah, I'm looking at work as well now. And he said it's really hard. He said I can't find anything. So I've been looking since April. So it's been a couple of months now since he's been looking. And he's tried to sign on in the short term just to help him out. And Universal Credit aren't interested because he's been self-employed. It's always the way. They love it when you're self-employed. You look great on the unemployment figures. Figures look great, lots of self-employed people. But you try getting help when you need it, because there's no one there to help you. So he kind of jokes and says, well, at this rate I'm going to have to move back to my parents. He's older than me, by the way. And I said, yeah, that's probably going to end up being my option at this rate. So things look really rough. And I've bouldered through quite well for quite a while, because you just do. You know, and compared to a lot of people, I am not in the same situation. I have been really, really careful with my money. I have emergency savings. I have some months of bills in a savings account where I'm covered for emergencies. But that money won't last forever, and it's not for living on. It was supposed to be just for emergencies, not to be paying bills every month. And I've been dipping into it on a small scale ever since 2020. And that doesn't show any signs of changing. So there's no point in me sitting tight and hoping things will change. Because the problem with that is that I will just end up with no savings at all. And I know I'm not eligible to sign on for Universal Credit. I am still on working tax credits. But they are being phased out. So I'm going to be extra money down at some point. Now apparently they give you 3 months notice when they're going to stop your payments. But that's neither here nor there at the moment with the way things are. So now is the time to look for that job. And as I say, I have started looking, but I'm not finding what I need. I don't need a full-time income. I just need X amount of money every month to allow me to stop dipping into my savings and tick over on a budget. It's not an awful lot of money I need. It's only, I don't know, what is it? £300 or £400 a month would do the job. Which is what I thought the surveys would do eventually as I build up. Because I only started doing this last year, and as we know, everything takes time. So I don't know, I'm going to keep at it, I'm going to keep looking. I don't have any contacts in any sort of industry anymore, and certainly in the creative industries I'm in, there's no point, there's no money in these industries at the moment, there's no money in self-employment at my level. I'm going to have to do something completely different and go where the money is. I haven't even managed to get a supermarket job. There's nothing locally at all. I'd stack shelves on the night shift, but good luck finding it. It's a very hot market out there at the moment. Round off my day, I burnt my wrap. What am I like? Not so long ago, I mentioned how I decided to have another go at selling on eBay. I'm a bit restricted on time at the moment because I'm going away soon, and I didn't want to have things still listed and running while I was away, because it would be enough to take all those things with me in case they sold. But I've had a chance to put some items on now, and I've actually been surprised that I've sold some things. And what I was doing was listing and combining the postage price in with the price of the items, so I was effectively doing free postage, because everything I've sold, I've either had so many years that I can't remember what I paid for it, or it's where people have offloaded stuff onto me for me to make use of in my business, and frankly I just want the space now. So there's a few things that haven't sold, but I will probably relist when I get back. But so far I have sold 4 things, so I'm going to show you which ones they are now. So it's sad to say, I did sell the yellow dress. I am sad about that, but I'm never going to get back into that. I also sold the new look maxi dress. That was 100% cotton, that one. Had that so many years, I don't know. This skirt was gifted to me by somebody, and I've just never done anything with it. And this jacket was a found item, one of my found in the street items. Perfect jacket, probably someone on a drunken night out left it somewhere. Perfect condition, why not? That makes it 100% profit for me. So I've sold all these things. It only comes to a total of £35.50, and the fees comes to roughly £1.50 an item, the eBay fees. So now I just need to package them up. I'm going to send everything second class recorded. It's the cheapest option that has a little bit more security, and then whatever's left is the money I've made from it. But as I say, these items are either really old or I haven't paid anything for them, so it's profit really. You couldn't make a living as an eBay seller, because you'd be going into shops buying stuff and then listing it. You'd have to add those costs to your listing prices. And even when I've been selling this stuff, I've had people sending me emails saying I'll give you X for it, but I've already combined the postage in with the listing amount, so I'm not selling them for any cheaper. They haven't gone for a lot. The yellow dress sold for £8. I think the maxi dress ended up going for, I think, £11.50, because a couple of people fought over it. The skirt, I think, was £7. The jacket, I think, was £7. So I'm probably not going to make more than £3 or £4 per item after I've done the postage. But it's still money in the bank, you know, every little helps, and it makes some room. So now I'm just going to package these things up because it's Bank Holiday Monday at the moment. But tomorrow I am going into town because my car is having 2 tyres done. And whilst that's being done, I'm going to walk the 10 minutes down the road to the nearest post office and get these things sent off. My long, busy week is almost at an end. Yesterday was the funeral. It was obviously an emotional day, a very long day, and it's now the next day, and today is the final pack before I go away. I feel really disorganised because normally I'd have started packing a few days before I go, starting to put clothes in and any bathroom things that I don't need to use while I'm here. It's quite complicated because I'm self-employed and I don't want to completely shut my business for the whole of the 3 weeks I'm away. I take certain amounts of stock with me. I organise my work so I have plenty to do when I'm down there because it's not really a holiday, it's just a change of scenery for me. And particularly as I'll have the house to myself for most of it, I want to get stuck in to some work without any distractions. And there are less distractions down there because I'm not at home. So I tend to get really focused, and there's more room. I can spread out. I can do things that I can't do here in terms of like product photography and things like that. So I'm packing up a load of stuff to take with me. So there's the work stuff, and it just kind of goes on. I'm just going to show you how much I've packed so far. So this is how it currently looks. This here is packed with stock. I used to take a big cardboard box, but it's fallen apart, so I'm now packing in a suitcase. I've got my printer in here, some of my packing materials. This on the top is an eBay item that someone just hasn't paid for, and it's rolling on and rolling on. I can't cancel the order until 3 days after I've gone away, so I'm going to have to drag it down with me. But I think what I might do, if they don't pay for it, is relist it and maybe try and sell it while I'm away. Here I've got all my walking gear. That's clothes, that's bathroom stuff. I also need to take a load of plants down. There are some plants I'm taking because they're for my parents. I've been growing some things for them, and a couple of things I'm taking with me because they're small and they're not going to survive while I'm away for 3 weeks. I've also got to get the flat sorted, so I need to do a full house clean. I've got to strip and change the bed. I've done some washing this morning, which might be dry before I go. I'm going to bring in a lot of my plants and put them in the bath and fill the bath with water. And I'm sticking with that because the heat wave is not going. And I think it's going to be here for at least a week. After I've gone, the weather's looking hot and getting hotter. So I'm going to bring in all my potatoes, I'm going to bring in my strawberries and a few other things and just stand them in the bath. It'll be nice and warm because the flat gets really, really warm. And because I won't be here, the windows won't be open, so it'll probably get quite warm. So hopefully they'll be quite happy there, and at least they won't dry out, which if I don't do this, they'll be dead within a week of me going. There's just no chance. We've had no rain here for, I can't even remember. It's probably about 2 weeks now since we've had rain. Currently I'm watering my plants solely with the water from my kitchen. So when I do the washing up, I'm pouring it into a watering can and putting it on the garden because that's the only water I have access to without spending more money on water, because it's grey water it's being used anyway. And I don't want to be pouring water, especially from the tap, for the plants. Today, as well as doing all the cleaning and whatever, I've got to go to the post office because I've sold a couple of things on Etsy through my business, thank goodness, and I have several eBay sales still to send, which I would have done yesterday had I not been otherwise engaged. So plenty to get on with today, and then I'm going to pack some of this stuff in the car tonight just to take the edge off it in the morning, because I try to get away by like 11 o'clock is my cut-off, and then I have probably around a 5-hour drive. So it's a long old day tomorrow. Hey-ho. I misjudged how much stuff I need to take. Forgot loads of things in that first packing video that I hadn't even thought about. Mostly work stuff, in fact all work stuff. There's an extra couple of bags there. So there's all that. That's all my computer-based stuff and my banking and all that kind of stuff, which I always take with me. And I've now brought in the plants, so I'm going to show you that. Well, this is how my bath now looks. Much less space in here than I envisioned for some reason. I don't know why. So all the potatoes are still outside. I have brought in the 2 pots of tomatoes, and all these are strawberries. These are strawberries. These are strawberries. Most of them are now at the berry stage, so at least they'll be safe. And at the back there is all the basil that I bought from the supermarket and planted. I've kind of 1/3 filled the bath, I suppose. I'm going to see how this goes today, and if it looks like it's working, then that'll be fine for tomorrow. I have other plants I have brought in. which I'm now going to put into washing up bowls, and I will fill those up and keep them in the kitchen, I think. So there's still a lot of plants outside that are just going to have to fend for themselves, unfortunately. Well, I've been here for a couple of days now. Mum and Dad have just headed off to meet their cruise ship. As you can see, glorious weather here. Minimum of 20 degrees every day for at least the next week. And it's nice and relaxing. Although I'm not really on holiday, but I'm still kind of working. It's a fabulous change of scenery. And I get to enjoy this all to myself for the next 20 days. Fantastic.